Good morning. This is Layla Rao, and with me is my guest today for the Leah 100 interviews, Oti Vatanen from Finland. She is a senior lead and agile coach who's been working with Ericsson R&D for the last few decades, I think. So we're going to look forward to hearing about her experience and her journey. Welcome.
Thank you, Layla.
We're so glad to have you here. And as I mentioned earlier, you do have this extraordinary career at Ericsson R&D. Can you talk about your journey, what that's been like?
Yes, of course. Thanks for asking. So I studied computer science in the University of Helsinki, and I have a Master of Science degree in computer science then. And I started at Ericsson Finland 1991, so 28 years ago. And I started then as a developer, and I have been coding with four different coding languages since then. But I have also worked as a team coach, as a project manager, and as a project manager, I had small projects and bigger projects. So the biggest one had over 300 people working in it.
Wow.
Then I have also been testing, I have been improving our ways of working, I have been supporting and enhancing the product quality, and I have worked with more than 10 different products. And actually nowadays I'm not working with the product, I'm working with the service. And I have worked in 3 different countries, and I have traveled many more. And all this has happened while I have been only working, as said, for Ericsson. My agile journey then, it started in, 10 years ago, in 2009, when we at Ericsson Finland started our lean and agile journey for real. At that point of time, we started our first Scrum team. The first team had the team area isolated in the basement of our building. And we others were at the same time reading books and listening to the stories from the first team in order to learn as well. And I had also at the same time long discussions with my colleagues while reading the books, and we were actually wondering what on earth the first team in the basement were doing, because to us it sounded like they were not doing as it was said or described in the books that we were reading. We had a feeling that they actually did everything wrong. And the interesting thing was that when we started the second Scrum team, I was asked to become a Scrum Master for the team as the first Scrum Master moved to start up the second team. And at that point of time, I then moved also to the basement, and I got to try things out for real. And it was kind of surprising to me how things were when I actually got them to try them out. So a couple of days later, I went back upstairs and talked to all my old colleagues and told them everything that has happened during the couple of days that had passed. And when they heard me explaining, they told me that I was being brainwashed. And to me, kind of, that was a really great moment, because it made me understand that it's not enough that you read the books, but you actually need to try things out. Try things out to learn and to truly understand how things are. That's the real way to learn things. And this is kind of one of the cornerstones for me, that continuously you need to experiment different things to learn and understand. So after that, sorry,
I wanted to ask a question about, you mentioned that you've had all these different experiences within Ericsson. Was it planned? Did you have a career plan you were moving towards, or how did this happen?
Well, I must say that I'm perhaps lousy in making career plans, so I haven't actually planned. For me, everything has just happened. So there has been an opportunity and I have taken it. Like I was proposed to take over to being a Scrum Master, and said that, well, sounds interesting, let's try it out. And here am I 10 years after, and feel that this was absolutely the right choice.
Did you ever have any hesitation about saying yes to something just because it's something new, it's something that you weren't sure about, or are you generally yes to whatever new opportunities come up?
I think that I'm so curious by nature, so I really love trying things, new things out. So I rarely hesitate on trying things out.
Fantastic. Sorry, I did not want to interrupt your Ericsson journey. So after the first team, when you experienced the brainwashing feeling, what happened after that?
Well, after that, I have been working with different organizations, started new journeys from the beginning several times during the years. And yeah, now I work, as said, with the service as a coach for the whole organization. So everything turned out fantastic.
Wonderful. Can you share a little bit about what it is, what's different working with a specific product versus working with a service, a more abstract organization? Did you have to change what you did or how you approach things?
Well, with the product, it was easy because we have been, well, Ericsson has been working with products for such a long time. Working with the service, well, actually, it gives you huge opportunities when it comes to lean and agile, because it's so much easier to make changes. For example, if you change something in a product, it's much harder to get the feedback, for example, and so forth. So working with the service gave us a huge opportunity from lean and agile perspective, I would say.
Fantastic. So can we talk a little bit more about your lean background and experience? Because I think for a lot of people, they start with agile and do Scrum and agile teams, and then somehow lean brings in something else that's missing. What's been your experience like?
I think, well, as I said, we started in the same way as you described. We started with Scrum themes. For me, especially now lately, we have been starting to look more in the lean aspect, and especially on the flow. Trying to get the flow flowing throughout the whole organization to be able to provide value for our customers. And this is where we are now concentrating heavily on, making sure that the flow really flows and there are not too many handovers. And yeah, well, that's
a fascinating story. So I remember reading on your LinkedIn profile about the hackathons that Ericsson does, but not just the coding hackathons. Can you talk a little bit about the non-coding hackathons that you pioneered, I think?
Yeah, well, the whole hackathon thing is started in 2013. We started having hackathons regularly at Ericsson Finland, and since then we have also started having them globally, and we organize several hackathons globally so that the whole Ericsson, all the Ericsson sites are able to join as they wish. I think on the third hackathon that we had on 2013, well, we coaches and line managers didn't just want to kind of support developers having a hackathon, so organizing the hackathon for the developers, but we actually wanted to be part of the experience. So therefore, well, not all of us could even code, so we decided to do something new. So we decided that we will have a non-hackathon, so a non-coding hackathon, and it was a really nice experience because then you actually became part of the thing and not just supporting others having the experience. And nowadays, it's really important for us that we have this opportunity of hackathons or non-hackathons for the whole company, because you can get so much out of it, because the hackathons give you a possibility to work with passionate people, like-minded people, on something you all are passionate about. So you get a really great 28 hours experience together with your colleagues. And at the same time, you create something amazing usually as a result out of it.
It sounds inspiring, and I really like that you're putting into practice your value of experience being how you understand Agile. Can we share more about what is your cornerstones of Lean and Agile? What's most important to you?
Well, as I mentioned already, to me, the flow is one of the main things. So we really need to keep the flow flowing, providing value for our customers. And as the world is changing all the time, we need to be continuously prepared for the change. So that is one thing we need to have as a cornerstone. And in order to be able to handle the continuous change and in order to improve on the flow, we need to be continuously learning as well. So we need to shorten our feedback loops all the time. We need to live a learning lifestyle so that we learn new things, new tools, new systems, and so forth. And we need to take all these lessons learned then and continuously improve. And continuous improvement we take in action by continuously experimenting. So to me, the continuous flow, the continuous change, continuous learning, continuous improvement, and continuous experimentation are the cornerstones of Lean and Agile. But it's not enough still, because in middle of everything, the most important thing, of course, are the wholehearted and empowered people, the individuals, teams, and communities that kind of make this all happening.
I was going to ask about your last point. It's all of these attributes organizations need to have, but ultimately it does come down to people being willing to think and behave differently. Do you have any advice for people who are relatively new to Agile and Lean, especially this holistic understanding of it? What advice would you give them on how to enjoy and thrive in this kind of environment?
Well, to me, it actually comes to the people, and it's much about communities. Because the thing is that nobody can do everything by themselves. You need to have communities around you, and they will support you making things happen. So the community approach is really important for me.
I think you mentioned earlier when I asked you about your journey, you said your journey is our journey. Can you talk about your sense of community and why that's so important to you?
Well, it's important because, yeah, you would be lonely and things wouldn't actually happen if you wouldn't have the people around you. So this is the whole journey is something we do together. Any piece missing would kind of leave something out of the journey. So we need all the pieces and we need to work together to make things happen. It's really, really important.
Is there a correlation between your valuing of this community approach and Finland culture? Because I think you're the first person who's expressed this in this particular way. So I'm wondering, is the connection to culture or just your experience?
I would say that the Finns are usually seen as shy people and so forth. So I don't know if it's the Finnish culture, but perhaps it's the Ericsson culture then rather. And the thing is that, in Ericsson Finland, we have 44 different nationalities. So it can't be just the Finnish culture, but it's the culture that we have in Ericsson.
That's fascinating. I did not know that. You mentioned that you travel a lot and you work with different parts of Ericsson. Are there cultural components to Agile journeys that we should all be more aware of?
Well, to me, Lean and Agile are culture. So, of course, different cultural backgrounds give us different starting points for the lean and agile culture. But it's a lean and agile. It's a mindset still. It's kind of way to think. So it's really a part of the culture. So you just, yeah, you need to think and consider and learn and try things out to kind of get to the lean and agile mindset.
It's fascinating, and I think that could be a conversation for a whole separate hour. But since we don't have that much time, I really do want to get your thoughts on what advice would you give for those who are just starting out in their lean and agile journey, especially women who are just coming into the workplace and they're coming into a very different environment. What advice would you share with them?
I think I mostly said the things kind of don't be left alone. Be part of the communities, find the other like-minded people, and of course, first you need to find your own passion as well, because that drives you forward all the time. So find the passion and find the like-minded people and make wonders out of it.
That is incredibly powerful. And I hope for everybody working in the lean and agile spaces, this is our passion. And I think our community is generally very welcoming for those who are coming in. So maybe take advantage of the agile community and get to know people and learn from people would be a good place to start.
Yep, absolutely.
What is next for you? It sounds like you've been pursuing all these challenges, so I would love to hear what's next.
Well, what's next for me is that we are currently trying to really get to end-to-end. We have been talking about end-to-end from the beginning, but it has been still a struggle to get to the end-to-end. So now I'm really happy that we are currently working on our ways of working. And in that work that we have now done, we have actually looked how the work flows throughout the whole organization. So starting from sales all the way through product management, development to the operations, how work flows through the whole organization. And now what I would like to do is to get the whole organization lean and agile so that we can together kind of make the flow flowing better and better, being prepared for the change, learn continuously, improve continuously, and experiment continuously.
That sounds like a fascinating and pretty ambitious goal. End-to-end value realization is awesome.
Thank you.
My pleasure. This has been a fascinating conversation. Thank you for sharing your experience with us.
Thank you for giving the opportunity to do this.